Good afternoon, fourth grade. Welcome back to another read aloud from Beyond the Sea of Ice. This is the second voyage of Henry Hudson. As you listen and follow along to the read aloud, think about all the events that are included in Henry Hudson's second voyage. Which events of this voyage, his trip by sea, stand out to you? And which events do you think are necessary to include in your portrayal, your representation of this event? The second voyage. If you look here at the caption here to the map, the solid line on this map is the northern Russian coastline that Henry Hudson hoped to find. The dotted line shows the actual Russian coast. So you have the dotted line, and then you have the solid. Second voyage. The Hopewell's failure to reach the Orient didn't discourage the Muscovy Company, nor Henry Hudson. 3 months after his return to England, he signed on to command the Hopewell on a voyage eastward along the northern coast of Russia. This northeast passage was the same route attempted by the original merchant adventurers some 50 years before. A northeast passage remained a very popular theory. We now know the impossibility of this plan. The Russian coastline extends much further east and north than what was shown on the best maps in Henry Hudson's day. The north coast of Russia is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. Inhospitable means it's not an easy place to live or to thrive. But geographers of the early 17th century believed otherwise. The 17th century is the 1600s. Heading north, the Hopewell again found fog and searching cold. By June 7th, they'd rounded the northernmost point of Norway. Soon after, they encountered ice and storm-blown angry seas. On the morning of June 15th, they came upon something rarer, a mermaid. 2 seamen described her in detail. It was an age newly awakened to science and learning, but people still believed in mermaids and monsters. Hudson recorded the mermaid sighting in his log as a matter-of-factly as he noted the weather. Hudson planned to head northeast around Nova Zembla along a long, crescent-shaped island to the north of Russia. He believed that the Kara Sea, which lay on the other side of Nova Zembla, led to the Orient. He tried to go around the north of the island, but the ice forced him to retreat. He didn't go around the southern tip because earlier explorers had found that route nearly impossible to navigate. He had one last hope. His charts showed a strait that cut across Nova Zembla. If Hudson could find that strait, might he not also find the open sea and the easy passage to China on the other side? Dangers arose even in the calmest weather. There was constant fog and ice to contend with. On June 30th, at the mouth of a river, great slabs of ice propelled by a strong current swept past the ship, threatening to crush her. Let's take a look at the journal entry of Henry Hudson. The Journal of Henry Hudson, the Hopewell, 1608, June 15th. She was close to the ship's side and looking earnestly at the men. Her back and breasts were like a woman's, her body as big as ours, her skin very white, and she had long black hair hanging down behind. When she dove, they saw her tail, which was like the tail of a porpoise, and speckled like a mackerel. The men fought the ice as best they could, pushing it away from the ship with oars and spars. As dangerous as it was, Henry Hudson felt this river might lead them to the strait they were looking for. Following the river to a bay, he sent a small boat to investigate another large river to the north. The men reported that it was broad, deep, and salty as the sea. This raised his hopes even further. A river of salt water indicated a strait. He was sure that this would lead to the Orient. But it wasn't a strait. and it flowed into a landlocked, ice-filled bay. Hudson's hopes of finding a northeast passage were over. Unable to fulfill his orders, he was free to return home. Instead, on July 27th, he headed the Hopewell west, just as he had on the first voyage. Despite the nearly 2 months of hardship already endured, Hudson wanted to go on. He was willing to sail thousands of miles across the Atlantic to put the theories of a passage in the north of America to the test. But the Atlantic crossing didn't go well from the beginning. The winds were against Henry Hudson. More important, the crew was too. The captain's commitment to find a passage to the Orient was not theirs. Normally, a captain's wishes were law, but a captain had to be able to enforce that law. Hudson did not, or could not. As much as he wished to continue west, after only 11 days, he headed the Hopewell for home. Hudson's ambition wasn't enough. He had to have a willing, or at least obedient, crew. Go back and read through this slide and think about, again, what events of this voyage stand out to you? Which events do you think are necessary to include in your portrayal of this event?